Hey, it's Howard Neller. Welcome to another edition of the Listening Chair. We're glad to have you. We got a good one for you today, folks. We're in Huntington, New York at Alta Audio. We're going to hear about the company's brand new flagship Aphrodite speaker. Before we dig in, let me just say, please hit the like button if you like what you've been seeing. Please hit the subscribe button and make sure you see all our videos as they come up. Also, we have a new Facebook group. It's called The Listening Chair with Howard Neller, and we have almost 12,000 members despite the fact that it's only about 3 months old. And people have been posting their audio systems from all over the world. It's super interesting to watch, super dynamic. So if you're inclined, please check it out. And without any further ado, let's speak to Mike Levy from Alta Audio.
Hello, Howard. Welcome to Alta Audio. Thank you for coming by. We're here today presenting our new flagship speaker, the Aphrodite, which is an upgrade from our prior model, the Hestia, but the upgrades are really fantastic. There are things that we've done here that are really new. For example, we've upgraded the drivers and we've gone 4-way from 3-way. We now have a pure diapolito design and there's a mid-bass coupler. We have upgraded the XTL bass, which, by the way, we were just granted a patent on. And beyond that, we've changed the crossover, parts choices, new deoxygenated, silver-coated Teflon insulated cables, and most importantly, the 4-way design and the pure diapolito, which have created a much clearer pulse out of this speaker. So the dimensionality and clarity out of it is quite a step forward from the Hestia, which had been reviewed so highly.
Can you tell us a little bit about Alta Audio and your design approach with speakers?
It began on a point of view that we would design for what you hear as the live feeling of sound, live music sound. Now, to explain what I'm talking about, we've all noted that when you go to a live performance, you feel it going through you. It is beyond just the listening part. And there's an emotional attachment to that because it resonates you. Well, the approach that we took was to find what that characteristic was and how we could recreate it. And that has been what Alta has been about from the very beginning. Now, the things that came out of that are things like XTL bass. There are things like the fact that we don't use any damping material and it is a lossless design structure, but it's also in the way that crossovers are tuned and in the way that we have chosen our drivers so that they will always sum out to the ear as if you were recreating a point source.
And where is the company located?
We are headquartered here in Huntington, New York, and we have our manufacturing in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and that's where we ship everything out from.
And tell us more about the speaker if you could.
Well, in frequency response, you're talking about, she plays from just about 22 hertz out to 40 kilohertz. The real thing about it is the way that it portrays dynamics with clarity, detail, and smoothness at the same time. They are fully open. They penetrate when you hear a sound that's supposed to. The drums pop the way that they are supposed to. The dynamics are clearly open, but without harshness or edge. And it has an incredible three-dimensionality in its imaging. You can sense the sound stage, the back wall, the positioning of each of the instruments. And there are times, for example, that I can hear the shimmer on a cymbal as it's going around the cymbal and the direction of it. So that's what we're about. We're about recreating that listening experience that you had at the performance when someone was playing live.
Before we forget, what's the North American price?
$50,000 a pair.
Okay, great. So Mike, actually before we get into the nitty-gritty of the speaker, maybe you can just tell us what's driving these speakers today.
Oh, yes. We have a pair of the Infigo amplifiers here, which is their mono blocks. They're a beautiful amplifier, and
gorgeous,
I love the sound of them. They're
those
gorgeous.
Glass tops.
Glass tops. You can see inside how well they're constructed. They are a pure Class A with floating bias, so that they don't get inordinately hot, but they do have that Class A clarity and detail.
Okay.
And we're using a Van Alstyne D-to-A here, and that is their digital preamplifier. And we're feeding it directly off of a computer.
Great. So maybe you can tell us now a little bit more about the speaker.
Well, the point of the speaker really is that it's dipole in the mid-range. And by being dipole in the mid-range, it gives you that sense of the huge image of the stage that was there originally. But it goes into monopole, into the tweeter. So when you're talking about detailing out the specific size and shape and positioning of images inside that soundstage, that gets done at the higher frequencies and comes out of their pure ribbon tweeter. By the way, this is an anamorphous core tweeter, ribbon tweeter, and it's made specifically for us by RAL.
Okay. And what's the sensitivity on the speaker?
90 dB, 1 watt, 1 meter. You know, actually 2.83 volts because it's a 4-ohm speaker.
Would you recommend tubes with this speaker?
I like tubes with it. My preference is Class A,
Pure Class A?
Yeah, transistors, because the control that it offers to me is of a level that can't be offered by anything else.
And then what are the drivers do we have?
All right, the drivers that we have are made for us by Morel. They are all 3.1-inch voice coil. They have titanium formers on which the voice coils are round. And the thing about titanium is that it's very light, very stiff, and non-resonance, and it doesn't create magnetic interference. The net effect being much smoother transients, and thus it blends into the ribbon, which is so fast and well controlled, very, very well. One thing about these ribbons, for example, is they have such a high flux density that when we ship the speakers out, we ship them with covers over the ribbons, because if any metal gets close to them, they'll suck it right in. And it shows, watch out for your badge. It falls right in. The diaphragms are carbon fiber, Rojas core, multi-layered, using polypropylene on them, and that's for all of the mid-ranges and mid-bass.
Okay.
The voice coils are all 3.1-inch, except for the woofer, which is a 5.1-inch voice coil. Everything uses titanium formers, and they all have neodymium magnets or hybrid neodymium magnets, hybrid with ferrite.
And it's a ported design?
It is a XTL design. The port is the termination to a transmission line. And that is what XTL is about. Our patent was just approved by the U.S. Patent Office. The point of it is a hybrid between tune port and transmission line. From resonance frequency on up, it operates as a tune port, which is a very well controlled frequency response. At resonance, rather than getting decoupled as most tune ports do, it continues down, being coupled through a transmission line that is internally there, so that they will operate all the way down to 8 hertz. The cabinets on the speaker are all using our damp hard material. What is damp hard? Damp hard is a multi-layered material in which we have high density fiberboard, medium density fiberboard, with layers of acrylic damping trapped in between. The net effect is that it has no resonance at all, but it is hard so that the sound comes off of it without loss.
Okay. So the former flagship being the Hestia, what do these Aphrodites do that Hestia didn't or doesn't? They
are just a level above an overall, in detail level, dynamic clarity and openness, and I mean a distinct level above. We were shocked as we were doing the final tunings to them to suddenly hear things we'd never heard in recordings before, clearly portrayed, like a resonator on a cymbal, or an instrument that we didn't know was there, or a vocal that we hadn't realized was in there. And they separated out and clearly became unique images.
Mike, if people want to hear the Aphrodite, where can they do that?
Well, we have dealers around the country. We're starting to ship them out right now. The first pair went to our dealer in Denver, but we will have it in our dealerships around. And we have it here, and we will be also premiering it at the AXPONA show this coming month in April. I welcome anyone who wants to come to the show to hear it. I think you're going to hear something very special.
And what about people who are outside the United States?
Well, we have distributors in Great Britain, we have a distributor in Poland, we have someone in Netherlands, we have someone in New Zealand, we have people in Canada, and we're expanding all the time.
Great. Well, I'd love to give it a listen if we could.
Please.